Hi, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Laurel. I'm Laurel, and this is part 2 of 2 videos on linear functions. In this video, we're going to take a look at the forms of linear functions, and we're going to look at finding the equation of linear functions when we're given certain information. So to start off with, in the last video, I did talk about the point slope form of a straight line. M times x minus x1 equals y minus y1. Useful if we have the slope and a point to find the equation of a line. We then also talked about the slope-intercept form, which we can also use to find the equation of our line. And when our equation is in this form, it tells us the slope and the y-intercept. Another form that your teacher or textbook might prefer is what's called the general form, ax plus by plus c equals 0, where a and b can't equal 0. So I just want to talk briefly about how you change from one form to another. If we had an equation written in general form and we wanted to express it in slope-intercept, which gives us more information, it's a form that I prefer, and you might as well, we just need to isolate the y term. So let's move it to the other side by adding 4y to both sides. And now we'll isolate the y by dividing through by 4. Remember, when we divide through by 4, we have to divide every term by 4. So it will be 3/4 x plus 2. Or you might prefer to write it in this order. Y equals 3/4 x plus 2. That gives me the slope. That gives me the y-intercept. So in order to go from general form to slope-intercept form, just isolate the y. If I have an equation in slope-intercept form and I want to express it in general form, or your teacher wants you to express it in general form, what you're going to do first is get rid of any fractions. So I'll multiply my whole equation, both sides, by 3, which means every term. So I will have 3y equals 2x minus 12. So I just multiply everything by 3. Then I want to get everything on one side and get the equation equal to 0. So I'll move 3y to the other side by subtracting it. And that gives my equation in general form. So try to get comfortable and confident changing from one form to another so that you can do it if it's expected of you in your homework. Now let's take a look at finding equations of lines given certain conditions. In this example, it asked me to find the equation of a line having a slope of 3 and passing through the point 1, -4. I'm going to do it 2 different ways. The first, I'm going to use the point slope form of a straight line. The second, I'm going to use the slope-intercept. Choose the one that you like the best. And from now on, I will just do it with one method. I won't do both methods, but I just want to show you that it works either way. So if I use the point slope form, I put my slope and the point in, and then I just simplify. So my slope is 3. The x value is 1. The y value is -4. And then I simplify. Distribute the 3. I'm going to subtract a 4 from both sides. So -3 minus 4 will be -7. And I can turn it around and write it in this order if you prefer. So the equation of that line is y equals 3x minus 7. If I were to do the question using the slope-intercept, what I'm going to do is find the intercept. So I use my y value, my x value, and my slope. So y is -4, slope is 3, x is 1. I subtract a 3 from both sides. Once I have my intercept and I have my slope, I plug into my slope-intercept form, so it will be 3x minus 7. So either method gives me the same result. Which one do you prefer? Let's do some more examples. Sometimes you're going to see questions that talk about the y-intercept or the x-intercept, and they give you that information and ask you to find the equation of a line. So let's do an example like that. It says find the equation of a line having a y-intercept of 2 and an x-intercept of -3. A y-intercept of 2 means the y value is 2 when the x value is 0. So that's a point that would be on that line. Similarly, an x-intercept of -3 means the x value is 3 when y is 0. So really we've got 2 points. We can also make note that our y-intercept is 2, therefore b is 2 in terms of our y equals mx plus b form of a straight line. Because we already have b, really all I need to do is calculate slope. My slope, as I found in the last video, is rise over run, which is the difference in y values divided by the difference in x values. So 2 minus 0 in the numerator over 0 minus a -3. And then we simplify, so the slope is 2/3. Now that I have the slope and I have my y-intercept, I have my equation. M was 2/3, B is 2, so that will be the equation that has that intercept as well as that intercept. Let's try some more. Our next example says find the equation of a line that is parallel to the line 3x minus 2y equals 5 and passes through the point 1, 4. So we know that when two lines are parallel, they have the same slope. So our goal is to find the slope of this line. That's all we care about, that line, just its slope. So in order to find the slope, I need to put my equation in this form. Because once it's in that form, the coefficient of x will tell me the slope. So I'm going to isolate the y. I'm just going to move things around. I want it to be positive. So I'm going to add a 2y to both sides. And I'm going to subtract a 5 from both sides. Okay, hopefully you followed that. I can rewrite it in this order. So just be careful, I subtracted a 5 from both sides and I added a 2y to both sides. Now I'm going to divide by 2. And I divide every single term by 2. The only thing I'm interested in is the slope. The slope of this line is 3/2. Therefore, the slope of the line I want to find is 3/2. Okay. All I need to do is find b if I'm going to use this form to find my equation, which I'll do. So my y value is 4, m is 3/2, the x value is 1, and I need to solve for b. When I'm solving for b, I'm going to subtract a 3/2 from both sides. I need a common denominator to subtract. 4 is equal to 8/2. So that would be 8/2 minus 3/2 equals b. 8 minus 3 is 5, so b is equal to 5/2. Once I have the slope, once I have the y-intercept, I don't care about this line anymore. I only needed it to find the slope, and now I ignore it. So now my equation will be y is equal to slope 3/2 x plus b 5/2. Again, if you were asked to change this to general form, multiply through by 2, so you would have 2y equals 3x plus 5, and then get everything together on one side of the equation. So 3x minus 2y plus 5. So some texts and possibly some teachers prefer you to write your equation in this form. If they don't care, you can leave it in that form and save yourself some extra steps. Let's take a look at another one. This next example is very similar to the previous one, except it talks about perpendicular lines. It says, find the equation of a line that is perpendicular to the line 5x minus 2y equals 10 and passes through the point -3, 2. So again, we need to know if it's perpendicular to this line here, we need to know the slope of that line. So let's do that first. And the way that we're going to find that slope is we're going to isolate the y. So we'll add a y to both sides and subtract a 10. I'm just going to move my terms. When I move this over, it becomes negative. When I move this over, it becomes positive. Now I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I divide this side by 2, I divide this side by 2, and I divide every term by 2. Now that I have it isolated, I can see that it's in the form y equals mx plus b. So the slope is equal to 5/2. So if the slope of this line is equal to 5/2, I'll call that m1. The line that I want to find is perpendicular to that. So remember, its slope, I'm called m2, will be the negative reciprocal of this. So the slope of the line I'm looking for, the perpendicular line, will be negative 2/5. Now I don't care about this line anymore. All I needed it for was to find the slope. Then I found my perpendicular slope. Now I can find the equation. I can use this form again, putting my x and y values in and my slope. Find b, and then I have my equation. So y is equal to 2. M is negative 2/5. X is negative 3. So b will equal 2 minus 6/5. We need a common denominator. Common denominator is 5, so this is 10/5 minus 6/5. B will equal 4/5. Once I know the slope and the intercept, I know the equation of my line. Y will equal negative 2/5 x plus 4/5. If you need to change the form, multiply through by 5. Get all your terms on one side. We'll move the x over to this side because it's negative, so we'll add a 2x from both sides. We'll subtract a 4. So these are the same equation. It just depends on which form you're asked to express it in. So that's it for linear functions for now. We are going to next look at systems of linear equations. But in the meantime, practice finding equations of lines or linear functions and practice changing from one form to another. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video.